Shane, just the other day, yesterday, I believe, we were talking about Bros. And so we know that Bros didn't do very well at the box office, and that was something that we were talking about. But now, something that's happening is Billy Eichner, the guy who wrote and starred in the movie, we know who he is, of course, has come out and kind of, pointing blame. And so I don't have an exact quote, but more or less what he said was, America doesn't want to support gay movies or gay things, so they didn't want to go out and support this movie. Shane, we talked about this just a little bit earlier, and you know how I feel. As an artist, I hate to see another artist pointing blame, trying to say why my movie wasn't successful or why this, instead of just, taking responsibility for what it is. As we were talking about yesterday, comedy movies don't do very well at the box office. We really found that out this morning doing some research. But romantic comedies even more. And then, the fact that it is, the first big gay, romantic comedy, I think does affect it in a little ways too. But Shane, what do you think about Billy Eichner's comments and the idea that, America may be to blame here?
It's risky to blame your audience, especially when your movie's still in the theater. But, I can see both ways. But, of course, we were talking about Monday just about how it's hard to release a comedy in October. And it's still number one in the box office, Smile, right? This horror movie.
Right.
And, we were looking at the numbers this morning, and just in general, comedy is just plummeting in the theaters. I was actually really surprised. I found this chart, this graphics just nosediving.
Yep.
Just is very tragic.
For a while, too, for years.
For years.
Yeah, for at least a decade.
Yeah, and so we, just to find top movies, we had to go back many years just to find top comedy movies. And, maybe that time's past us where comedies are going to make a lot of in the box office.
Yeah.
Plus, now Bros is battling it in October.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I can see all perspectives here. This is crazy. I'll bring this up real quick. Before we went live, I was looking at some news and just scrolling through some video game news as well. And there was an article that came out that, that gay characters aren't picked whenever,
oh, wow.
Gamers pick their characters.
Right.
They don't pick gay characters.
Sure.
So, maybe there is a point to this. So, but, is it something to, possibly seen as attack to the movie-going public that you're hoping to attract,
Right.
Maybe there could have been other ways, but also maybe down the line, too, we'll look back at this moment and go, hey, he had a point.
Right. Well, I also think, on the topic of, comedies taking this big, dive as we've seen is, I think streaming's a lot to blame for that, right? Again, because as we talked about yesterday, this is more of a sit on the couch with your buddies kind of thing.
We have a term for that. What is that called now? Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill, yeah.
And what do you Netflix and chill? These types of movies.
Definitely, and I agree 100%. And like I was saying yesterday, when you're setting aside with these theater experiences the way they are now, when you're setting aside 3 hours for you and, in my case, my wife and my daughter, and in some people's case, even more than that, to gather all these people up and to go to a theater and to do all these things. Again, more today, we want that event experience. We want that big, almost what I would compare to like a sports event now. We just last year, we went and seen the Lakers and the Thunder play, and it was this big thing, and when I go to a movie now, like when I go to see, Infinity War and Endgame, when they came out, they felt like that. They felt thunderous. You had those fans every once in a while getting up and shouting something and stuff, just like you would at a sports game. And I think that, again, streaming has just killed a lot of that because with a comedy movie, you're never going to get that. You're never going to get this big type of thing. So it makes sense, and the numbers even make more sense, because if you see as it's been plummeting, it was right around when Netflix and stuff really became what it was. And so I think streaming is to blame, and it's too bad, because we've seen a lot of good comedy movies in theaters. You know, I seen Superbad in theaters. I seen Pineapple Express in theater. A lot of Seth Rogen movies. A lot of Judd Apatow movies. I see Knocked Up in theaters. Another movie I love, Neighbors. You know, and I had great theater experiences. I mean, just a couple of years ago, I showed you 2019 Long Shot came out with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, and I thought it was a great movie. But I remember sitting next to my wife, and I remember telling her, like, this is just too bad, because nobody was in our theater, and nobody went to see that movie. It didn't do well at the box office, and it makes it hard for those movies to get that theatrical release moving forward. So when, like, we had this movie, which I don't know if you even know about, Shane, it's called An American Pickle. And this is Seth Rogen's last movie, where he plays like a man from...
It's animated?
No, it's a live action. He plays like a man from the 1800s, you know. Okay, wow. And it looks great, and it looks fun and funny.
I didn't even hear about this.
Right, but at the end of the day, like, you didn't hear about it because it didn't get marketed, because it wasn't going to go to the theaters. It wasn't ever gonna be in theaters. It was, and it went to even worse than that. It went to I don't know, you know, one of the, like, Peacock, or one of the obscure ones that not a lot of people have too. It's not like it was on Netflix, because then you might have had heard of it. And so I think that, again, that streaming is a lot to blame for where we're at with the comedy decline. What do you think, Shane?
Well, you know, just talking all about this, it makes you have to wonder, is Adam Sandler a goddamn genius? I mean, I think we were all ridiculing him back when it happened, right?
And Netflix, right? We were ridiculing everybody involved in that situation.
You know, I think so too. And now, you know, it's like, what is that? Hubie Halloween, or whatever. Hubie Halloween.
We're still waiting on that sequel, right, Shane?
what a bad movie. But you know what? I watched it because it was on Netflix. It was a comedy. I was with my wife, and it was Halloween. It was, you know, it was a perfect storm of course, I was going to watch it. And also his, you know, the sports agent movie that just came out.
Oh, have you seen that?
Oh, so good.
God, tell me that
good.
isn't one of the best Netflix movies you've ever seen.
One of the best movies of the year.
Right.
Period. Oh my God. It
so
had
good.
everything.
And the guy, oh God, he plays for Spain.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God,
he's
Herman Gomez.
Yeah.
He's not even in the NBA anymore. Yeah. But God, he did so well for a guy that you couldn't even expect to put a good.
Hopefully Oscar nominated. Both of those guys.
Yeah, and Adam Sandler killed it. It's stuff like that makes you remember, like, damn, this dude sometimes, and in drama specifically with Adam Sandler, it's like Academy level stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, it's really good.
You know, and it makes me wonder, you know, I love this movie so much, and would I have gone to the theater to see it? Probably not.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't even know about it.
Right.
I just happened to jump on Netflix
one day,
and it's
there
number
is.
one movie. Right. You know, and so Adam Sandler, I'm going to watch this thing. So, you know, it's just you got a lot of cards stacked against you where you do have a lot of transphobia in this country, A. B, you got a comedy in this country now, which is going to be a pitfall.
Right.
C, it's October, you know, so when people do go out to see movies, it's probably going to be horror.
Yeah.
It's also R-rated, not family-friendly, so you're also cutting out a lot of demographic. And then lastly, you know, we are in a down economy. So, you know, Bros tragically has the most cards stacked against it, and you know, we're sitting here looking at it going, you know, it's probably going to be like we talked about with Will Smith, you know, yesterday, that when it is Bros available on streaming service, we'll have enough time where people have forgotten about these comments to where they'll want to try it out. Because honestly, when I watched the trailer, that was my first thought. It wasn't I'm going to run out to the theater and watch this movie right now. It was, I can't wait to see this movie on the couch with my wife. It's going to be one of those great movies. We'll put it on at 10 p.m. Friday night, you know, and cuddle up to each other.
For sure.
And, you know, have a great laugh.
And I bet when it comes out, I bet we do feel that way. I bet we do. I mean, listen, if Bros right now came out on Netflix, I probably would
I
have checked
agree.
it out by now. I
agree.
mean, honestly, it's so mind-numbing to again, because I love Billy Eichner, but it's so mind-numbing to me to try to blame America. And look, does America hate gay people? Yeah, they hate everyone. America,
Great
who does
point.
America
Great
like,
point.
man?
I don't know.
They hate everyone, and anyone that's proud of who they are, they hate you even more.
Yeah.
And whether you're black or gay or straight, or it's just the country we live in. And so to point fingers, I mean, I guess America's always to blame to an extent, right? But again, to point the finger in this way almost just feels like, a little bit of salt in the mouth. He's salty. He's butthurt is what I would call it, is what it seems like. And to me, like I said, as an artist, you don't ever want to be caught the guy, pointing fingers. It's kind of like I always talk about with me and you had talked about a while back ago when Scorsese had made these comments about Marvel movies or this and that, and it's like, hey man, just shut up. You don't do that. You don't talk about, what you say is, if you're gonna say anything, what you say is, those movies aren't for me, but I'm glad that they exist.
Well, before we go on a Scorsese tangent here, his rationale wasn't so much blaming Marvel for the movies; it was blaming the audience for supporting only these movies. And honestly, I think this kind of ties into Bro's example, where the American audience is less likely to go see a movie like Bros and more likely to see a more spectacle-driven film because of all the reasons we stated before. Just the time we live in, it's a lot more fun to watch it on the couch, blah, blah, blah. But
sure.
it is the truth. What's driving audiences to the theaters now is completely different than when Scorsese was making movies in the 70s. Movies were completely different in the 70s. It's why there's a term it's called the New Hollywood era.
Sure.
I mean, what era are we in now? I mean,
right.
It doesn't even have
the
new.
Name.
Yeah, so it's just like instead of feeling, like you said, butthurt, he should feel proud of that he had the opportunity to make movies and the time he made movies.
Well, not only that. I mean, it made $4.5 million, which I know doesn't sound great, but we just looked at the budget. What was it? 22?
Yeah,
22
million.
That's not too bad, honestly, I don't think. I mean, this movie over time could make $20 million in the box office, potentially.
Make it back.
So it could potentially break even. But, I mean, this movie, again, its biggest deals, its biggest moneymakers are going to be post this, is when you go to all these streamers and you say, hey, look, we got this movie that, sure, it may not have sold a bunch of money in the box office, but everyone that went and seen it loved it. It's a 90-some% from critics say it's great, people say it's great. Which one do you guys want this? And it's going to be a bidding war for something like Bros. It really is. And it could end up anywhere. It could be on Netflix, it could be on Apple, it could be, you just never know where something will end up. And I think that is where it'll make its biggest impact. Because like I had just said, and you agreed to, if I would have got on Netflix a couple of days ago and it would have just popped up, I probably would have already checked it out, man. So I don't think, and I mean, I'm as boringly heterosexually straight as it gets, but that means it has nothing.
Comedy transcends any sexual orientation. If something's funny, it's going to be funny.
Right.
And, just based on the trailers, it had us laughing already.
Right. And I think that when it comes out, we'll check it out. And, I'll forgive Billy Eichner for saying the things that he said, because, at the end of the day, he's hurt because people aren't going out and see his movie. And we all know how that feels as an artist, especially when you got something good. Not only do you know it, but now everyone does. The critics, again, all the critics are saying it's good. All the audiences are saying it's good, but no one's going to see it. And as an artist and someone who spent a lot of time into to creating that's got to suck, And so I totally understand that, and I totally get that. He's hurting a little bit by what's going on. But at the end of the day, I think this will go to streaming. I think it'll do really well on streaming. We'll see. It'll get a lot more buzz, I think, then, too. And the other thing we have to understand about this movie too is, with a $22 million budget, what do you think the marketing budget is on this? You know, how well was this marketed? You know, I really hadn't seen it, so it's not like while I was on Hulu, you know, in between the ads that were playing were for Bros or something. You know, I hadn't seen much marketing for it, and I don't think much marketing was done. And at a $22 million budget, even if they spent $5 million on marketing, that's not a ton. And that may not be enough to get much people out to even know that it existed. Because like we were talking about earlier, you know, that not only did America not come out to see this movie, Billy, but gay America didn't come out to see it either. But maybe it's because they just didn't know it was there, you know? Like, it has to be marketed to you, you know? And for me personally, I thought the trailers were kind of a little cringe. I mean, they had their moments of fun, but you just never know with a trailer. And I bet this movie is a lot better than what the trailers look to me. But again, I'm looking forward to it. As soon as it hits streaming, I'll check it out. I'm sure you'll check it out too, right, Shane?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I think we also live in a time and age where there's a lot more sleeper hits now, unless you nailed it right there about marketing. Unless something is absolutely talked about at the get-go, it's going to seep through, because usually you get, you know, a million people screaming about 5 things rather than 5 million people screaming about, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think that eventually it'll find its audience, you know, and you're right, you know, as an artist, you know, you always just want your work to be seen. But at the same time, you know, him standing up for his work, I do commend him for that. And if it also allows us to maybe look at ourselves a little bit too, you know, hey, I commend him for that as well. So I can definitely see both sides on this.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's not like there's no truth to what he's saying. I mean, there's a large percentage of America that's not going to go out to see this movie because of one thing or another. And I'm not going to deny that. None of us are. And again, but like I said in the beginning, that's just the country that we live in, and that they hate everyone. They hate, you know, themselves is mainly the issue. And
it usually stems out to everything else.
Of course, you know. And I think that like I said, it'll get on streaming. I think it'll get more buzz then, and get more people talking about it, more people seeing it, and I think you'll feel a little bit better about it then.